You know that feeling, right? You're at a party, you're smiling, you're nodding, but inside you can feel your battery draining with every single comment about the weather. Well, today we're going to explain why that exhaustion you feel from small talk isn't some kind of social failing. Nope, it's actually a feature of your brain. We're diving into the neurology that literally hardwires some of us to crave deep, meaningful chats over all that idle chatter. I mean, it's such a familiar feeling, isn't it? That mental energy just nosedives after a few minutes of talking about weekend plans or traffic. If you have ever felt that drain, you're in the right place, because there's a really fascinating neurological reason for it.
All right, let's get right into it. That feeling of being totally drained, it's a very real thing. It's a form of cognitive fatigue. And to really get why it happens, we first have to understand the two very different kinds of conversations our brains are trying to process. This slide just lays it out perfectly. Think of it like two different radio frequencies. On one side, you have the noise, all that surface level stuff. The questions like, what do you do, or where are you from? It's basically conversational filler. But on the other side, you have the depth. These are the conversations that dig into the why and the how. This is where the brain finds what it's really looking for, genuine stimulation. Honestly, it's like the difference between hearing static and hearing incredible music.
And here's the part that's a real game changer. If you find yourself pulling away from small talk, it is not because you're being antisocial or rude. Not at all. The research points to something much deeper. It's a neurological preference. Your brain is basically craving a different kind of fuel, one with some real substance to it.
The official term for this craving is higher cognitive stimulation. And really, all that means is that your brain has a fundamental need to do what it does best: chew on complex information, hunt for patterns, and connect the dots between ideas. It's an active, engaged state, and simple surface-level data just doesn't scratch that itch.
So this brings us to the core of the problem. What is actually happening inside your brain when it's stuck dealing with all this noise instead of the substance it wants? Why does it make you feel so tired and not just, a little bored? Okay, so here's the play-by-play for that fatigue. First, your brain gets the input, the small talk. Immediately, its natural instinct kicks in, and it starts searching for patterns, for some kind of deeper meaning. Then, there's a conflict. The information is so shallow that the search comes up totally empty. This creates what's called a cognitive mismatch. It's like revving a car's engine while it's in neutral. You're burning a ton of energy but going absolutely nowhere. The result of that useless search? You feel completely drained.
Now this is where it gets really fascinating. The research takes this idea a step further, linking this deep-seated craving for substance to a specific type of mind. One that is highly analytical, one that is constantly trying to figure out the world on a deeper level.
So this quote is pretty bold, but let's be really clear here. When it says genius level, it's not talking about your IQ score. It's talking about a type of mind. A mind that is just fundamentally wired to look past the superficial stuff and hunt for the underlying mechanics of how everything works. It's a brain that isn't happy just knowing what happened. It has this burning drive to understand why.
Let's break that idea down into some traits that might sound a little more familiar. Does any of this hit home for you? Do you see connections between things that seem totally unrelated to everyone else? Are you always that person asking, but why? Do you tend to think in big picture systems instead of just isolated facts? If any of that rings a bell, then your brain is just doing what it was designed to do. It's set to pattern finding and substance seeking mode. It's not a flaw, not by a long shot. It's a key feature of how you're wired. Okay, so we've got the why down. Now what about the what's next? If your brain is wired for depth, how in the world do you navigate a world that so often just isn't? Well, it's all about turning this self-awareness into a real strategy for managing your social energy.
So here's what I really want you to take away from all this. First, and this is the big one, accept that your need for depth is a feature, not a bug. It's your brain's factory setting. Second, start being strategic about it. Protect your social battery. Save it for the people and conversations that actually fill you up instead of draining you. And finally, give yourself permission to gently nudge conversations deeper. Just try asking a why or a how question next time. You might be really surprised to find you're not the only person in the room who's been dying for a more meaningful connection. At the end of the day, it really all comes down to this one powerful question. Understanding how your own brain works is the first huge step. The next one is making a conscious choice to seek out the signal, the meaningful, stimulating, real connections in a world that's often just full of overwhelming noise. Thanks for joining me for this one.